All right, Mr.
Go.
Travis Farris, how are you?
We're live. We're good, man. We're good. We're good. Happy to be on here.
I'm so excited to have you, man. I always enjoyed doing something with you, man. So this is great.
Well, likewise, it's always a treat. We should do it more often.
Thank you for coming on the Immigrant Storyteller channel. I really appreciate you coming, man. And before we jump in, just go ahead and tell the audience who you are, what your background is, and then we roll the dice.
All right, man. I'm Travis Farris. I'm an actor among other things, father, husband, I run a couple small businesses. But artist first and foremost in everything I try to do. Texas is home originally, grew up on a working cattle ranch. I feel like I've lived a bunch of different lives. I've been a rancher. I've been an oil field roughneck.
That's awesome.
Worked in restaurants. Done a lot of surviving for the craft, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen so just a little background. I met Travis in an acting class, and I think the first time I saw him, this was like how many years ago, bro?
Oh man, it was right after I quit working in the rig. So it was like 2010, 2011, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
2012, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and so you came in. I remember you had cowboy boots on when you came in. Like this guy's all right.
Yeah, man. That's my daily driver.
Yeah. And then so we just kind of started doing some scenes in the class and then we just started becoming more friendly and and just stayed in touch and did some projects together, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And the reason I asked you to come on is because I think you really understand a lot of the things that are happening within our world, which is the creative world. You've been studying acting. I would love to hear more about your journey as an actor, and then we'll dive into, the rest of what we need to talk about.
Okay, yeah, yeah. My acting journey. I mean, if I had to chart it all the way back, probably as a kid, I grew up out in the middle of nowhere. A couple hours away from the biggest town. Dallas Fort Worth was like our main city hub, but the town I grew up in was about 4 or 5 thousand people then. And then I lived another 15, 20 minutes outside of it. And, we got maybe three or four channels. We're talking like no cable, no satellite, anything like that. So
Wow.
movies were like this escape, this place that I could go and see things. And it's something that we shared as a family. One of the very few times where my mom, my dad, myself, my sister would all sit down and like commune, like we
That's
all
awesome.
shared space and time
That's
together.
awesome.
And then later on, my dad got cancer and he was home for like better part of a year.
Mhm.
Sick, man. He was sick. Uh, beat it, survived, which was great. But he would watch these old movies, Casablanca, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, um, all kinds of old westerns, John Wayne stuff. I think that's the first time I saw The Hustler with Paul Newman, and I was
Oh,
just,
wow.
okay, wait a minute, like something else is really cool going on here. Like there's levels to this. It's not just entertainment.
Yeah.
Um, and then it wasn't until my 20s that I walked into an
How
acting class.
old were you when you saw that? But when you
I was
thought this,
probably 12,
really?
12, 13, something like that. Yeah.
So Paul Newman was the first guy that kind of like made you pay
But Humphrey,
attention?
probably Casablanca, probably Humphrey Bogart, which
Oh,
to this day
really?
is still my favorite movie all time. Uh,
Really?
Rick, Rick in
Yeah.
Morocco. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's a bad guy doing good things for all kinds of different reasons. Man, let me try to dig into that,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
style. And he was like a man's man, but not in an overbearing cowboy way, which is all I really knew until then. He was smooth, like I was like, oh, okay, all right.
So you liked what Bogart did. You were attracted to what Bogart did in that film.
Yes, yeah.
There
I
was some
mean,
kind of,
also like the music and the setting, the visuals, it created this whole other world of this exotic place, which I don't think they shot it on location. It was probably manufactured looking back, but like at the time, I was like, oh wow, okay, this has transported me somewhere for 2 hours.
yeah. And this is back in Texas, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, so that was the first time you actually got into it. They shot that in Van Nuys.
I figured so it was something like that. Yeah.
That's the Van Nuys Airport, which is across the street from, I think it's by Victory Boulevard in the San Fernando Valley,
Yeah.
and that's where they had it. I guess they maybe there was a studio there or whatnot, or like a hangar that they turned into. Isn't that
Probably.
crazy, dude?
It's wild. But that's even more magical to me now looking back on the things that were created, you know, for art's sake, for the visual, for the effect.
Yeah, it's interesting you say this because art has changed quite a bit in the last 10, 15 years, and specifically in the last 2 to 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
It's really changed. And you know, like I can relate to what you're saying. There was different movies I was attracted to and wanted me to be a storyteller, and there was a magic about it, right? An escapism,
Yeah.
and you lose yourself. And I think a lot of people, like I was watching, I read Tom Cruise's book or the unauthorized book that somebody wrote about him, and he would also escape into movies. I mean, he had a tough childhood, And the thing is, it's interesting because you say, "Oh, why do you get into art? Like, what do you got something to prove, or what is it that you're trying to do with your life?" And there's a lot of truth to that, and everybody's different. So how was it for you?
Before I knew anything about art, I was an athlete because that was what I was recognized for. I was good at sports. People recognized me for that, and that was like part of my self-value system.
Uh,
Um, but it also taught me a lot of like work ethic, things that I use now to this day. Work ethic, consistency, practice.
hmm
Also like being a team player, working with other people. Like
hmm
it wasn't something I thought about, and I don't think a lot of younger people think about when they get into
hmm
uh, the craft or the business of making movies. Like it's so collaborative. It's not about you. Oh, the star. Well, like yeah, there's a few of those people, but
hmm
more you're a team player. You're showing
hmm
up. You
hmm
you know your role. You do your job. You practice. You show up and you go and you get the job done. And I
Yeah.
think my background in sports taught me that. But it wasn't until like I was in my 20s. I'd been to two or three different colleges, and I
hmm
walked into an acting class as an elective. You know,
A lot of major players did the same thing.
yeah,
I was talking to Ray Liotta. Well, I wasn't talking to him about that, but he has said when he was alive that he joined acting class because there was hot chicks in the class.
yeah, yeah,
That was
always. And I was scared to death. Like I was so terrifying to me, but that was also like the appeal. It
yeah.
reminded me of when I was playing football and I would return punts. Like there's this moment that the ball's in the air. You're having to use all your instincts and capabilities to catch that ball and then run and then see the field. Like it becomes very instinctual, but there's a moment
Sure.
where time kind of stops. And the first thing that I
Ah,
did,
ah,
it was like everything just like go, you
yeah.
know, time stopped. And it was just like action, reaction, and terrified, but also moving forward and this freedom that like happened in that moment. And then it was over. And I was like, oh shit, like
Oh, that's
what
interesting.
just happened there? Like so yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you say this. This is when an actor is in the moment, right? They're in the moment. This is interesting you're talking about it. It took me years to get this, right? At first it was just playing pretend and you thinking you got it right, but you really are learning, years to understand it. But the idea of getting your homework done, getting all the work, what Russell Crowe calls the golden nuggets, get everything you need to go and then let it go and then be in the moment as you're saying in that football returning that ball, you're not thinking I'm going to go this way, I'm going to go that
Yeah,
way,
no.
I'm going to flip that way and then I'm going to run. No, you're just going to go. And I
Yeah.
think that's the same thing when it comes to like being in the moment. The best performances that I've seen are people that when I'm like live on the set, I'm doing something with somebody or vice versa, just watching, is when there nobody cares anymore about what they're doing. They're just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's where the human magic comes in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was also something I learned. I played defensive back in college. And there was a coach, he said, man, if you're going to do this job and you're going to do it well, you have to have short-term memory. Whatever just happened, forget it. You're going to line up and they're going to come at you again, or you're going to line up and you're going to have to perform again.
Mm.
And I try to apply that a lot of time to myself, like, okay, whatever just happened, whatever it was, like, let it go, good, bad, otherwise. More often than not, it keeps it fresh, or it keeps me open to whatever somebody's given to me. Uh, and it's fun, it makes it more fun than hanging on to that thing of like, oh, I rehearsed it this way. It's got to be this, and I'm trying to get from here to there. And like, I don't know, just line up, do it again, go.
You know what's funny, Travis? I'm glad we're doing this. Sometimes when you're driving, you're doing just chores during the day, you start thinking about everything you've done, different parts of your life. All of a sudden, shit's coming up from God knows this one time or that one time, right? And the biggest lesson I learned was early on in my career. I was in this independent movie that never came out, and these two guys were making it and whatever, and I was supposed to be at some hospital and asking questions of this man where the exit is or something like that. Anyway, I had this shit so pre-planned out. When I chew gum, when I look, when I do this, it was so mechanically done. The producer guy came up to me and he's like, just be in the moment. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, I'll be in the moment. Anyway, it goes back to what you're talking about, right? The athletic part of this. And I didn't know this about you that how long did you play football?
I mean, all through from junior high up until my freshman year in college. After I got to college, I realized I was a good athlete, but there was no, for the time it took to put into it, there wasn't a real future beyond.
Mm.
I was a redshirt freshman, so I was on the practice team. Um, my life was football. I really wasn't enjoying college. I didn't know anything. Like nobody in my family went to college, so I didn't know anything about college or what I was doing there. I was just playing football. Uh, and there were guys that were like good, like had two or three steps on me. Like, and no matter what I could do, I was like, I'm not gonna be as good as that guy.
Mm,
I'm not gonna go to the NFL, like, so I'm given 12, 16 hours a day watching film, working out, uh, and I'm not enjoying it anymore. I don't love it
how
anymore.
old are you now when you said when you were doing that?
19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were playing for like 3, 4 years up until 19.
Yeah, no, I mean, I played from 12, competitively 12, school sports, 12 through 19. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So then you started realizing that you don't really like what you're doing, or was it because you were not good enough to be able to compete with some of these guys?
I think it was a combination of both. It was like a realization and also an evolution in my life of like, this isn't, if that had been my identity up to that point of like, this is not who I am any longer. Like,
Mm,
I don't know who I am, but this is no longer my driving force in life. I have to figure out what that is.
mm.
Um,
And when did you figure that out? How did that come about? I mean, how did you say I'm going to become an actor? And then like basically trek out to Los Angeles to do this?
Oh man, I mean, I didn't figure out. I'm still struggling with the fact that my identity as an actor and an artist on the daily, but I didn't decide to take the leap until like 2008, which was like 7 years later,
Wow.
and I'd gone through three or four different colleges. Like I knew that to have an education and to pursue things and be curious was something that was important to me. But I had no background in that. I had no real guidance or any mentors that like helped me kind of put some bumpers on and be like, focus, man. Don't lose your focus. And like I was drinking, I was partying, there were girls, and I was, you know, working on a ranch, cowboying, I was bartending.
Awesome.
I was still doing all these different things that were taking my energy and focus away, but I was a kid in my 20s. Uh,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until I was probably 24 where I was like, look, all right, what do you really want to do? Like again, I had that thing of like I'm tired of the drinking. I'm tired of the going out. Like I had friends that were musicians, I had friends that were artists, and I really like admired what they were doing. So I went back to school and I decided, look, I'm gonna study film, and through that exploration of the acting thing was kind of like on the side, and I do student films and
Back in
independent.
Texas.
Yeah, back in Texas, back in like Dallas, Fort Worth, and down in Austin some before Austin was even a thing. Um, and then in 2008, I finally graduated college, and some guys that I was in film school with were like, "Hey, man, we're going to pack up and move to Los Angeles. You should come." And we weren't great friends, but we had worked on projects and done some cool stuff together. And I was like, well, New York or Los Angeles. And by this time, I'd pursued it enough to go to London for a summer and study
Okay.
London, study classical theater in the West End through a study abroad program.
Wow.
And that's what really turned it on for me. That's what I was like, okay, wait a minute. Regular guys do this job. Like it's not about movie stars or
Hmm.
big budget blockbusters. Regular workaday guys go to the theater uh, and make a living and grind it out and like
Wow.
put up really beautiful art in this world that was completely foreign to me.
How long were you out in
That's
London
funny. I was
for?
like, I want to do that. I don't
You
know how to
wanted
do that. I want to do that.
to, in London, you decided.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was 20. I was 21 then. Yeah.
Wow. And how long were you out there for that program?
It was like 3 or 4 months,
Okay.
like May to August. Like, yeah, just a summer.
That's crazy. And so when you came back, did you come straight back to Los Angeles or you went back home? How did
No, I
it
went
work?
back to Texas and I was still like in and out of school. I was taking, a couple drama classes, but I was working full time, managing my family's cattle operation.
Okay.
Had like a bartending hustle on the side.
Okay.
And I banged around like that for a few years. Yeah.
And
And it
then
was,
when 2017 is when you came, right?
oh, 2008.
2008 is when you
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So welcome to LA. Where'd you stay? What part of LA?
I landed in Valley Village out in the valley. Yeah.
How
I
did
was
you?
I had a couple friends that had
Okay.
came out here before, people that I'd done, film festival stuff with. I think one was going to USC uh for some kind of program. One was going to AFI. Like they were doing it, And they had a little house out there, and I think 3 or 4 dudes uh lived there, and like they had a little pool house. And me and this other dude lived in their pool house for almost 3 months with their dog, sleeping on blow-up mattresses. While I tried to figure it out, because I thought it was all Los Angeles. I didn't know like there was the Valley and there's the West Side and the East Side and downtown. It was just like this is all this is all Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you came at a time, like I think the industry at the time, well, there's a lot to talk about the industry. First of all, there's so
Yeah.
much. We haven't even scratched the
I
surface,
mean,
man.
between that then and now, like life wise, and then industry wise, so much has changed.
Oh my God. I mean, let's stay in the feel good land still for a
Put the
minute.
bumpers on for me, yeah.
Put the bump. Well, yeah. So, I mean, I remember at the time, kind of from my own perspective, I grew up in Los Angeles. My family immigrated to LA, first a little part of New York, but we came here when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So
Yeah.
it was, all I knew was movies. And I didn't understand. I was very much like you, swap from job to job, school to school. Just didn't really have a footing on anything except movies. And I think one of the things that um, I started writing a screenplay when I was like 18, and learned the hard way. And I wrote a book, by the way, that I had all the stuff that I'm going to talk about. I don't want to take away from your time, is in there. A lot of the stuff I'm going to get
No,
into
no, no.
is
Please do. Tell me about the book. Like I should know, we should know, the world should know. You
okay.
because I feel like like you said, you're somebody that's learned this by doing.
Yeah.
Nobody gave you a blueprint, from what I know, gave you a blueprint or said, "Here, go meet this." You went out and you did, and more often than not, from my experience, like you learn
Yeah.
a lot from your mistakes and your failures, but also
Yeah.
the process. The process teaches you. You know.
Well, there's a little funny story that I won't forget. So I had written the script. We had a family friend who was like a New York actor, older gentleman. He's no longer with us. He's passed away, and he helped me guide, do a script, and he didn't know much about screenwriting, but he knew about plays because he did them. So the screenplay was completely off format wise. It was like camera, 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 camera. It's just a mess. And anyway, I wrote it, and then I was trying to get into the game of the game to get somebody to make my movie. So at the time there was like the Tarantino era where there was video stores. So I walked into the local video store at Van Owen and Winnetka in San Fernando Valley. There was a hamburger place next door with the best fries in the world. Anyway, so I walked in, I took a little notepad and started writing down the production company names of the video cassette covers.
You like took him off the deal, like
Oh,
nice.
Metropolis Production. Okay, this is what I'm okay. So I wrote a whole bunch down and I just, I printed like, I don't know, five, six scripts, put it in a manila envelope and I sent it to them and nobody got back to me. That's just the way the beast of the nature. Anyway, so I then got a job driving messenger service, and this company was working with studios. So this part is in my book. And so basically, what happened was I got into the studio. I delivered a package for somebody on Paramount lot, and I decided to hide my badge after that. I got out of the car and started looking for this one production company that I had submitted my script to. And I found it, and it was around lunchtime. And I walked in. There's nobody in this office. It's a whole bunch of scripts everywhere. And I looked two desks. I'm like, okay. So I took a scribbly note on the office desk, and I said, "Hey, this is Steven. I came here to see you. This is my script. Let me know. Here's my number. Whatever." It was a pager. I give him my pager number. So,
Beautiful.
so what I left Paramount, whatever, and then I got a page the next day. I'm like, oh shit, it's Paramount. I called the guy, I don't remember his name, but he was just like, hey, how's it going? Hey Steven, thanks for the note. He's thinking, how the hell did this guy get in my fucking office? He's got to be somebody. He's on the lot, right?
Right?
Yeah. So he said, I really liked your story, it's really well done, this and that. Here's the kicker, here's the funny part. Um, you should try to format it properly. Like get it from I said, well, okay, yeah. He goes, have you heard of Sid Field? I said, no, no, who's Sid Field? Screenwriting teacher,
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
came here. And I said, so I started, he goes, you should read that book and, redo your script. And I said, well, maybe you want to help me. He's like,
Why not? You got to that point. I
yeah. But what was cool about it, what made me continue on this journey, he was very nice. I did pick up Sid Field.
think it's cool that he called you back. You didn't just
Yeah.
throw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And mind you, this is 25, 27 years ago. So there's
yeah,
a
but I mean, those
lot
are
of,
those little things, those little signs. And Marcus was like, they gotta have to call you back.
yeah,
He didn't have to do anything, but somebody was there. The universe was there. Like, knock
yeah.
on your door a little bit. Here, go, maybe go this way. You know?
What made me jump up and down on Melrose Boulevard next to this payphone in Hollywood was he said he said if you have anything else, feel free to send it to me. And that was it.
Huge.
Hey man, send me whatever else you got. That made me write, 20 more scripts and keep pushing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's a story that so my background in Los Angeles is a different this is a lot. I had a lot of roommates who came from different places, from Buffalo, Minnesota, North Carolina, you name it. Everybody comes in and out, in and out. And I was like, I got nowhere else to go. Like this is kind of home. Where else am I gonna go? Like swap up life and whatnot. So the thing that I continued doing was writing, but I loved acting all along, obviously, and then just slowly but surely started getting to producing and learning the perimeters of how the business works in many ways and learning a lot of hard lessons at the same time. But back to the reason I wanted to speak to you was that I like your demeanor. I like how you handle yourself. I like how you're a team player. And tell me, like, I know you've done some stuff on it. Like, I looked at your Instagram. You do some showcasing. You do some plays, I believe. Like, tell me about what is your process right now?
I mean, right now I'm working on a play. I mean, for me, the biggest thing is to always stay busy doing something, like if I'm lucky, I'm auditioning quite a bit. But if not, I'm picking up a play, I'm calling somebody, I'm in class, like just keep moving, keep learning, keep surrounding myself with other creative people in that energy. And then more often than not, like something comes out of it.
Yeah.
Something and it's kind of like your story too. Like if it doesn't lead me to the end of the rainbow, that pot of gold, it's gonna lead me like somewhere nice. And then that's gonna lead somewhere else. And then it's gonna move somewhere else. And it just feels good for me.
Mhm.
If I'm not doing something creative or artistic in some way, other parts of my life start to suffer.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, you talking about, hold on one second. There you go. You're talking about something very relatable, right? Um, like you ask yourself, some people have said, or they say, well, there's something within you that makes you want to do this, and let's just call it the universe, God, a force, something makes you is telling you keep doing this, right? While you have other friends or acquaintances that are doing other things, and it's a very pragmatic approach what they're doing. 2 plus 2 is 4, and over a period of time, a lifestyle of luxuries built, and that's not the same in the film industry or any kind of creative artist industry. It's a different animal. But the thing that tells you, how do you manage that? And then what is it that drives you?
I don't know, like I shouldn't be here. Like my whole life, career, and everything that I have from my wife to my kids, my house, like has been because I made some kind of decision based on my gut instinct,
Mhm.
not really informed in any way. Sometimes I wish I could be a more analytical person and weigh the consequences in this and that. And well, if X equals Y in this, 2 and 2 is 4, well, then I can do that. It was like, no, like I have this feeling. Right now, it either feels really good or it doesn't. Either way, like, okay, it feels good, I have to move. It feels not so good, I need to go this way.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
always led me to something, man. And I can't put my finger on it. I can't explain it. I pray, I meditate, I try to journal
I
and work
love that. I love
out.
that. You talked about meditating, which I don't do really. I really don't do. And we can talk about that in a second. But I want to hear about what you got going on with the meditation and how that helps you on a mental wellness, I guess would say. How's that work for you?
I mean, I there was a time when I meditated, religiously. Like, okay, I'm gonna get 10 minutes a day. I'm gonna go out to the beach. I lived in Venice forever. I'm gonna go out to the beach. I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna get a little mantra. And it became this thing. And I couldn't explain it, but I would always feel better after I got up and finished, and my days would be a little more productive, or I'd have a little more
Yeah.
joy, or something good may happen on the days that I was meditating than the days that I wasn't. And it probably had to do with me being outside by the ocean, me getting some sunshine. It's like all the other factors of me being out there doing that thing.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
but now, it comes and goes and ebbs and flows. And now that I have kids, it gets harder. Just time as a commodity,
Right.
uh, and making time for myself and doing those things to feed me gets to be a little more restrictive. But I still squeeze it in, man. I still, and it's the same. It's exactly the same. Like I always feel better after, or better things happen during my day on the days that I do than the days that I go like, oh God, I don't have time, or I got to run out of here. I make some kind of excuse not to feed myself in some way.
It's interesting you say this because I think one form of meditative actions are being in your art form, whatever that art is.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you're doing, whether you're a dancer, you're a painter, you're whatever storyteller, I think the art form is what is a form of meditation, right? It puts you in a zone. There's a certain excitement that comes with that. The way the business has turned the last couple of years, starting with COVID, and also the strike, the SAG strike, it has been, I can speak for myself. I watch people on social media, whatever they say, but it has been a very challenging, uh, question, your humanity. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because it's gotten a lot harder in that sense, right? Um, so there's that. And I think there's a lot of people out there having a hard time with this. And LA has become kind of this trap almost where you're there. And honestly, the studios and the streamers are really worried about themselves and their bottom line. It has nothing to do with what you do as an artist. That's irrelevant. The game is changing, and either you change or you vanish.
Yeah.
So, how do you see that for yourself? Just kind of where you are right now in your life and how you maneuver this.
I mean, you know, d during the pandemic and the strike, I went through probably the biggest changes and shifts of my life. On top of all those things, I had a kid. I lost my dad. I worked on one of the best projects that I've ever worked on. A couple of the best projects I've ever worked on in my life. You know, like big career bumps. Um, that weren't necessarily, you know, you think, okay, it's going to be a game changer, but it it was, but it wasn't like didn't launch me to the next level. So
Right.
there I am, trying to figure out who I am, why I do this, and I don't know, man. It just to me, if I don't do this, and I've had periods in my life where
Uh-huh.
I've said to hell with the business. It's
Yeah.
not feeding me. It doesn't love me. I love it. It doesn't love me back. I'm going and working on an oil rig. Went and worked on an oil rig for 2 years. Made great money.
Yeah.
Turned off all my casting sites, cut my email off, like
Wow.
hell with it. And my life just wasn't as full. You know, I
Interesting.
felt like a piece of me was missing. Um,
Interesting.
so I don't know. I always remind myself of those times. And then like the state of the business, you know, my wife works on the corporate side of it, and it's just it has nothing to do with me as an artist and an actor. It's about bottom lines. It's about corporations and boards and co-productions and endorsements and branding and all these other things that have nothing to do with why I get up in the morning and do what I do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
It's
still got to, but I still got to eat. I still got to pay the mortgage. I still got to send my kids to school and take care of them. So it's like it's a tough one, man. It's a tough dance. Like you really got to love it. You got to love all of it. The good parts, the ugly parts, the parts that are out of your control, like and then you just, you know, you got to keep showing up. You got to do it.
you
And
got to
you
keep.
and you got to you have to like really you got to love it at the end of the day. You have to.
I think that's important that you're saying this. I think there's got to be a new like rebirth almost. You have to, like you said, you walked away. You said, "Screw the business. I don't want to do this anymore." Believe me, I've been there a couple of times. Same thing. And somehow I was pulled back in, and,
Yeah.
and I was just doing it. You ask yourself. I mean, look, there's a lot of, huh?
You have to listen to the universe too. Like when it comes and finds you, anytime I've quit or like swore it off for some reason or another or some way or avenue, it's came and it's found me. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, I'll do it a little. And then all of a sudden you're back in it. And it's like, okay, shit, man, how did I get back here? But,
It's the idea of us being a vessel for our life. Your body's a vessel, right? And then I mean, there are moments where you go like, why is this so hard? Like, why is this so challenging? Why do I have to come across these, people that are bad people or whatever it is? You know what I mean? And um, and then there's sometimes good people. But what happens is your vessel, I think it's important to be nice to it. I think if you were, they say, oh, if you talk to your younger self, man, sometimes I'm not even in a space to talk to my younger self.
yeah.
That is such a provocative, oh, the younger self. The one thing I noticed, especially through social media, right, Instagram, um, and I don't do Twitter really or X. That's kind of like, is anybody out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, X is a mess. Anyway, so what I noticed just watching stuff on Instagram and just social media is that everybody was really quiet, right? Everybody's like, nobody was saying anything. I'm like, I'm feeling pretty fucked up right now. This is like a year ago. Like, no auditions, no films are being made, can't get a star, distribution is not that great. Like, what the fuck is going on? And no one was saying anything. And then you have these movie stars on red carpets. Like the world is great. Oh, I'm promoting this project. It was great to work with so and so, and the vibe, and they were so in their own little world. And then people slowly started talking on social media, and then other people just started flocking towards. Oh, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Oh, this sucks. This, that. I'm losing my house. I don't have a job. I haven't made a paycheck in 6 months.
Yeah.
The shit hit the fan for me when I saw the one of the cast members of Orange is the New Black on a social media group thing that was going on, and she showed her paycheck residuals was like, I don't know, 4 cents, 5 cents. She was one of the co-stars of the show on Netflix. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is ridiculous. You think this, oh, she's got to have a nice house somewhere, living well.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. So there is this thing that's happening right now as we speak. I decided to start this channel a couple of months ago. I've had the channel forever, but I'm like, I'm going to start doing this and be proactive with whatever it is I want to do as far as creating, talking to people, and really connecting to. I don't have to be your neighbor. I can, and I remember you were one of the first people who came to my mind when I was like, we should talk. Remember, like a year ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
the idea was there. We should talk. We should figure this out. And I think there's a support system that is coming together in the film industry, no matter where you are. It's not just Los Angeles; it's everywhere. Obviously, SAG, was going through some stuff here in the United States. But what is your take on everything that is going on right now?
I mean, yeah, it's real uncertain times, right? Like production's either way slow, non-existent. What seems like the good stuff has moved overseas to Europe.
Yeah,
Like I was talking about the co-productions and things like that. And then I did, cost of living's got way more expensive.
yeah,
What you're getting paid on set and residuals and the pay scales have gone down.
yeah,
So it feels like a stacked deck. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
why am I doing this? Can I sustain this? But for me, like I've never been successful enough for it to be like my only gig. I've always had to like hustle and like be resourceful and have a thing going here and a thing going there. And then if I booked something and it actually paid me, like then that was like icing on the cake. So it's just for me, it's more the same. It's like staying creative. Boom. All right, check. Okay, how we gonna eat? All right, how are we gonna pay the bills? Okay, got those squared away. All right, now I can be even more creative. Okay, how much time can I put here? How much time can I put there? And then I was fortunate during the strike. I got on one of those voucher gigs, and it paid great. It was like all the things, like I feel like it was almost like a weird magical moment if you could like jump in that portal and get to work when everybody else didn't, and everything that SAG was asking for was at the highest degree. It hadn't been negotiated down. So the productions that were willing to do it were paying it. And it was like, oh, it was such a and everybody on set was the same way. They're like, oh, we're working, man. And it was like it felt so good. And then it was over. And it's like, oh, okay. All right, well,
yeah,
what comes next?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. You
That's
know,
always kind of the actor's struggle, like what comes next? What can I do? Well, used to it was um there's always an obstacle. There was the writer's strike, and then there was the other strike. And what used to is like your agent's telling you, well, they can't send you out because you're a Caucasian looking male, and that's not what anybody's looking for. Now it's like, well, production's moved overseas. Maybe you should get I feel like
bro.
there's
Let
always
me.
that thing like punching you in the face.
Yeah,
Uh, and you got to roll with it, man. Roll with the punches, and then
yeah,
get creative and be resourceful and
yeah.
resilient and all the things that everybody talks about being an actor. But support group helps, man. Like just to talk to somebody, just to connect, and it's that thing that the reason why we got into acting too. Like connect through these bad times, connect through the art, connect to the audience, connect to the material. Like those are important.
Absolutely. And I think right now we're in a place where the business. Uh, let's face it. Let me put the big gorilla in the room to rest.
The streamers care about the streamers. They don't care about actors. It's a business. The studios, same thing. Like you said, branding, names, etc. And then, but honestly, I kind of feel like we're in the Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like you got to fight your way out of this battle. And if you don't, you might get slaughtered or you might win. I don't know. But it is that kind of a, I always used to say, like, oh, people from New York, oh, from New York, this, that, and the other. And then the hustle and the bustle and the city noise and the streets. I said, California, Los Angeles is palm trees, man. It's beautiful. And it's tough as shit.
Yeah.
Just because you're looking at a pretty palm tree does not mean that everything is hunky dory.
Yeah, just cause the sun's shining don't make it paradise, man.
No, it don't make it paradise. And you see, like, okay, like some of the people that inspired me were Robert De Niro, Sylvester Stallone, and Dean Martin. Those three guys were like the ones that really inspired me to do what I do. And I have to tell you, like, the amount of energy I put towards like understanding these people, and I got a chance to work with De Niro, obviously, which was fantastic. But the amount of time I got to put into this in my own little world of going and believing in my own, storyline that I've created, right? Um, and it's funny because sometimes when you sit down with your dentist friend who's just kicking ass and taking names and buying house after house and cars after cars,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's been moments for me where I was like, well, fuck, that's interesting. Like, but I don't want to be a dentist.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a banker. I don't want to be whatever. So there is that too. But at the same time, I mean, I think some of the stuff that we're talking about, uh, besides the studios being the studios, that's fine. It's a business. It's a marketing thing that happens for them. There were a lot of people in the middle ground and small levels that were abusing artists, from screenwriters to actors to you name it. And some of them got their due, some of them didn't. They're hiding behind the rocks that they crawl under from, you
Hmm.
know? But I think something happened with the strike that it highlighted a lot of, on a high level, some of the things that has been going on in the business, but nobody talks about. But what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, there's dark spots and ugly things in any and all businesses, right? And I think the business that we're in preys upon it's even to a higher degree. It preys upon the people that come here because it is this fantasy that we kind of live. And like I have to remind myself of like I get to live and work and do this made up thing that everybody like sees and puts on this pedestal and thinks it's this this feat of magic and it transports them somewhere. All the reasons why I got into it, you know, people come here and then that's not what it is. And if you are like, hey, great, you won the lottery, uh, take it to the moon, man. But that's not what it is. It's
What
CD.
is it, Travis, from where you sit? What is it?
Well, I mean, when I first started, it was CD auditions in the valley with weird producers and catty cutthroat kind of stuff in the the queue for the auditions and somebody in your ear telling you, oh, I'm going to do this and this and come over here and this, this and you're going like, what's going on here? Who are these people? What have I signed up for? you know but as long as you like, but I do have to say, like, as long as you listen to your voice, as long as you trust yourself, listen to your internal integrity, you can kind of weed through that kind of stuff.
Good.
I know not everybody has that, and there's some really bad things happen to a lot of really good people, but you eventually find your path, and you find your people, and you listen to those instincts with the red flags and the warning signs. Are like, yeah, I'm not going that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go this way.
Yeah.
You know, but on the optimistic end of it, I hope we're in like a little bit of the dark ages that the film, because everything's cyclical, every business, but I feel like the film business is no exception. And I hope we're in some kind of dark period that's leading to a renaissance. Like
Mhm.
after the studio system died, you had the late 60s, early 70s of all these beautiful independent films that came out that really like inspired me. You know, you had the Francis Ford Coppolas and the Conversations and the Godfathers and the Pacinos, and they came up into that window. And then all the conglomerates came in and bought up the studios, GE, and then it became more about bottom lines, and you saw things get watered down and formulas and all these things. And then the 80s kind of like did their thing. And I feel like hopefully we're in some kind of regrouping, resurgency of what the future of entertainment in the film business is going to be.
I think you're right.
You know, I'll always be around in some way, but
No.
you know, I guess my window will change. My what I can offer and add to whatever comes next will change.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I hope something really cool and amazing is coming on the other end of kind of this kind of dark downtime, you know?
Well, listen, I have to say something to you about this because um, right now, just having a conversation with you on this and being able to like share this with other creatives and normal people who just want to watch and kind of get the insights of what this is. I think the human condition has not been honored as much as it should be in the business that we're in. I think you see that with everything that's going on in our country, and some of the elites in the business have had a certain idea of what things should be, and they're not. And honestly, everything that we've been witnessing for the last, I don't know, year tells you exactly that it's not the same. People are tired of it. People are tired of being um, you know, placed in a bad spot mentally, emotionally, physically because of a business they really want to be in. Now, mind you, there are people who are delusional in any business,
Yeah.
and then there's a lot of that going on. But I think when it comes down to what we have, I think there is a renaissance coming, and I think it's sooner than you think, and I think you're in it as we speak, and I think it's one of those things that will transform pretty quickly. I mean, the fact that the internet is connecting things within seconds. Something happens, the news is not even fast enough. Your phone tells you on somebody's feed something happened,
Yeah.
and then you see it on the news. I mean, I don't even watch the news anymore, honestly.
Yeah. You
I
don't have to.
mean, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So I think the rapid pace that things are happening are very different than they were back in the day. And I think that will change quite a bit. And to be able to see it on a positive note is just to keep doing what you're doing, and don't quit. Now, a lot of people quit, and I understand that. It's not for everyone. You have to know your why, your reason. Why are you in this business?
Yeah.
If it's to have them say you're so great, like Marilyn Monroe, right? I mean, if you look at Marilyn Monroe, and I did a little mini documentary on my channel here on her. She was an orphan. She was pretty much abused, left alone, abandoned. Marilyn Monroe was an icon, but she was a mess. She was a mess, and these powerful men took advantage of her. And that's just a really prime example of what happens to a lot of people that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of going back to your meditation and going back to finding your inner self and your why will give you that. Now, I'm by no means the expert in any of this stuff I just said. I'm just not. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't do. I don't meditate as much as I should by any means. But I think finding that focus and your reasoning is important. But listen, man, I want to wrap it up. And is there anything else you want to say that we didn't touch on?
I mean, no, man. I think the kind of yeah. If we're wrapping it up here, the optimism for what comes next. The fact that I think the world needs us and needs art and needs humanity in the arts and means of connection through whether it's a visual medium or an audio medium, like artists have to keep pushing through the dark times.
Yeah.
Same as the guy that's a plumber that builds houses and provides water for somebody's house, like in a housing market downturn.
Yeah.
Like, it's important. Like there's an art and a science to everything.
Yeah.
But I really think the dark times, it's especially important as an artist to remember, like, okay, you have a duty. You're here. If this is your truth, you're here for a reason. Like you got to find the
I
light,
love
and
it.
then you got to spread it.
I love it. I think that's really kind. It's really generous of you. I just want to say to the audience that I met Travis in acting class. We worked on Dead on Arrival together. He did a great job on that. You can watch that on pretty much any YouTube channel now. It's with marketing and advertising on it, but distribution, Sony's behind that. He did a great job with the role. What was the role that you played?
Um, I named her Marie, Thomas and Marie. It was a split role. Beautiful opportunity to work and explore. Yeah, that.
No,
Tom,
like, what was the character? Just a little.
oh, he worked in a bar, but he was part of this dark underworld. Uh, but he was also a cross-dresser. He was also a she. So he was transgender and non-binary before we were talking about transgender and non-binary and
Yes.
LGBTQ. And he was bisexual and he just got caught up in a bad situation with some bad people and he really
In New Orleans, in the swamps.
yeah, South Louisiana. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
He
that
just,
was.
he just wanted to be loved, man. He just wanted to love and be somebody. He just wanted to be somebody.
If you haven't seen Dead on Arrival, definitely check it out. Travis is great
It
in
was a
it.
fun one.
Very attractive man in this movie. Let's see. And we did something with you in Wages of Sin where you play one of the gangsters. That should be coming out in 2025. That should be really good. He does a great job. Listen, Travis, always a pleasure. Please tell the people where they can find you. Your links, I can put it down in the bottom. Look, I've had people reach out to me since I started the channel asking me about this and that and the other. So share who you are and what you do, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super. I should be more active, I guess, in on social media, but I just have an Instagram, and it's my name, Travis Farris, all one word. If
Travis
you're
Farris.
looking for me, you want to find me, there it is.
I'll put your Instagram in the description below. So if people want to follow you and come around, listen. Here's the good news. The good news is people have found this channel, which is fantastic.
Great,
We're gonna hit about 10,000 subscribers today,
beautiful,
which is pretty amazing. I
well
look at the huh.
well deserved.
Thank you, man. And I think we're being watched in every country in the world. United States, obviously, UK, Canada, Australia, Europe, South America, Middle East. People are watching the channel, and it is something that I think I want to talk to people like yourself. And by the way, if you accept my invitation, I would like to extend it for another conversation with another subject matter that deals with the world that we're dealing with. If you're down with that down the line.
Let's do it. Let's do it again another day, man. It's always a joy and a pleasure working with you on
Yeah.
on anything and everything. So yeah, man, be honored.
Yeah.
Love you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. And I guess I'll see you when I see you.
Catch up, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.